You're finished, Alex. By tomorrow morning, your name will be mud. That's what my business partner, Daniel, told me in front of the entire boardroom, smirking like a man who thought he'd already won. The other executives shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to meet my eyes or look away. He had spent weeks whispering in their ears, twisting numbers, fabricating proof that I'd been siphoning company funds. I sat there, hands folded, letting his venom drip into the room. I'd known for days this ambush was coming. What Daniel didn't know was that while he'd been plotting my public execution, I'd been preparing something far deadlier: facts. He pulled out a folder thick with forged statements, waving them like a trophy. The shareholders will be furious, he said, his voice smug. The CEO's gaze flicked between us, the tension so thick it could crack. I leaned back in my chair, the faintest smile tugging at my lips. Daniel, I said softly, you might want to sit down. This is going to hurt. And with that, I opened my own folder. 2 months earlier, I'd started noticing inconsistencies, tiny details Daniel had overlooked. Purchase orders that didn't match invoices. Payments routed through shell accounts. And every time I asked him about it, he brushed it off with a joke. So I stopped asking. I started digging. At night, long after the office was dark, I pored over archived emails, backup drives, and financial logs he thought he'd erased. I built a timeline, every date, every transaction, until the picture was clear. Daniel wasn't just stealing from the company, he was framing me to take the fall when it all blew up. The more I uncovered, the more dangerous it became. We'd been friends for 15 years. He knew my habits, my weak spots. I couldn't confront him until I was ready to end this in one strike. That's when I called Sophie, our company's former head of compliance. She'd left after a disagreement with Daniel, but she still had the keys to certain locked doors. When she saw the evidence, her eyes widened. You know, if you pull this trigger, there's no going back, she asked. I met her gaze. There's no going back already. By the time Daniel strutted into the boardroom that morning, I had every piece of his scheme printed, signed, and notarized. Bank records, internal emails, even voice recordings of him bragging to a supplier about getting rid of Alex. But I didn't just want to clear my name, I wanted him to watch his empire collapse in real time. So I let him speak first, building himself up in front of the others. He painted me as a traitor, a thief, someone unfit to hold my position. The board members shifted in their seats, glancing my way. When he finally handed his evidence to the CEO, I waited for him to sit back, confident in his win. Then I slid my own folder across the table. Inside were certified bank statements showing his personal account ballooning with stolen funds. A transcript of a call with a supplier, Daniel's voice unmistakable, discussing burying Alex. And, just for dramatic flair, a signed confession from an employee he'd bullied into falsifying invoices. The room went silent. Daniel's smirk faltered. Where did you, he began. I cut him off. You've been sloppy, Daniel. And I've been patient. The CEO's face hardened as she flipped through the pages. One by one, the board members leaned in, their expressions shifting from confusion to shock to anger. Daniel's voice cracked. These are fake, he's making this up. I simply gestured to Sophie, who was sitting quietly in the corner. She stood, introducing herself and confirming she'd authenticated every document. You thought you were the hunter, I said, my voice low, but you've been in my sights for months. Daniel lunged for the folder, but the CEO's hand stopped him. Sit down. Her tone was icy. She picked up the phone, dialing security. The room seemed to shrink around him. I could see it in his eyes, the moment he realized it was over. But I wasn't done. I leaned forward, my voice just loud enough for the board to hear. Oh, and Daniel, you might want to check your office. The authorities are there right now. He went pale. You called fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to defraud shareholders, I recited. They'll have questions. And your answers better be better than the ones you brought here. 2 security guards stepped into the room, their presence a physical reminder that his world was shrinking fast. The board members began murmuring, some in disbelief, others in quiet satisfaction. Daniel tried to speak, but his voice broke into a cough. He looked at me, searching for some last shred of mercy. There wasn't any left. I trusted you, I said. 15 years of friendship, and this is what you did with it. So now, you get the ending you earned. The guards escorted him out, his protests echoing down the hallway. The CEO turned to me, her voice calm but resolute. Alex, the board will convene later today. We'll discuss your reinstatement. But I wasn't thinking about reinstatement. This wasn't about a title anymore. This was about balance. That evening, I walked out of the office for the first time in weeks without feeling the weight of suspicion on my shoulders. The winter air hit my face, crisp and cold. My phone buzzed, a message from Sophie. He's already in custody. They found more than we expected. I smiled. Daniel had been planning to bury me under lies and forged evidence. Instead, he'd buried himself. At home, I poured a glass of whiskey and sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. This wasn't the victory I'd once imagined, it was quieter, cleaner. But it was mine. Some betrayals you recover from. Others you dismantle piece by piece until there's nothing left of the person who wronged you. Daniel's name would be in headlines tomorrow, his career gone, his reputation in ashes. And me? I'd still be here. Building. Planning. Waiting. Because if there's one thing I learned from this, it's that revenge isn't about rage. It's about patience.